When I was in elementary school, I remember learning the alphabet and writing my name for the first time. This quote explains that this country is a place to be able to find new beginnings for the families that cannot teach the simple things to their children. When people solely lack elementary education, it can affect the chance of getting a job or even just communicating with others every day. I know that if my parents did not put me in school, I would not know a word of English. People do not understand the importance of education because they grew up always having someone to teach them the difference between right or wrong, or how to speak freely in this country. I understand that people do not take education for granted, but they don't see the others suffering without one. To start, my grandparents never had the opportunity to learn how to read or write because of what they needed to do in order to survive. They both were the oldest of their family and had to take care of their siblings right after school and never engaged in their education as much as their work at home. Nelson Mandela once said, "Education is the most powerful weapon which people can use to change the world." The most powerful thing is education, but when a person lacks in that area, they could lose opportunities in their lives that others could easily get based on their level of education. Shakuntala Devi states, "Education is not just about going to school and getting a degree. It's about widening your knowledge and absorbing the truth about life." This quote illustrates that people come to this country without elementary education, which makes it exceedingly harder for people to communicate, let alone adapt to these new policies and education systems. When my grandparents were younger, they did not have the time to study or learn how to read or write. Their lives consisted of working at a ranch. They came to the U.S. for a better life for their children. My father had to repeat a grade because he did not know English. Many people in this country suffer from this issue day to day. The lack of communication makes it harder for these people to adapt to this extreme change in life. To continue, this country is a place to be able to find new beginnings for your family and yourself. But when you solely lack elementary education, it can affect your chance of getting a good job or even just communicating with others. To prevent this from happening to more children, we could help those less fortunate with their daily tasks to create time for school in their lives. We can do this by donating to foundations that give back to the community to hopefully relieve some of their stress at home. Another way to encourage education is to go to those around you that do not see the importance of education and spread the consequences of not receiving the correct education in this country. The significance of education needs to be spread across the world like a global pandemic. Erasmus once said, "The main hope of a nation lies in the proper education of its youth." Our way to prevent our country from falling apart is to put all children in education systems, starting with elementary. Elementary school is the most important stage in a child's life to build their character as a person and a student. For the people that do not enroll their children into school, it could affect their children's life and decrease their chances of becoming successful. Since our country is especially centered on education, the only way to get a stable job to financially care for yourself is to have a sort of education diploma. Although there could be a couple of jobs that do not require any sort of education, those jobs usually tend to be labor-intensive, and people would have to work long hours to get the money they need to be financially stable. Furthermore, according to Columbia.edu, education allows others to gain knowledge and encourage us to see the world better when we learn more about what we can do to better our community and world. School encourages everyone to practice speaking their opinions on subjects they are passionate about. Columbia.edu also states, "Information cannot be converted into knowledge without education." Without education, our world will not be able to improve in any way. Education is the root to our problems and solutions around the world. If we did not have any sort of an education system, our society would become less intelligent throughout generations. I believe the importance of education has grown throughout the years because now, people need an education to have any success in their lives. Finally, success in the world revolves around education. Without an elementary education, people would be unable to go into high school or college to get a diploma or degree. School gives people the skills required for employment. Without the first stage of education, there is a small chance of getting any job. Most jobs at least require a high school diploma to apply. According to the universityofpeople.edu, school allows us to practice attaining more than one extreme task at once. People develop self-discipline and work habits through school. Therefore, without an education, one's life could become extremely difficult as they get older. The significance of education has increased throughout generations, which is why children must be enrolled into school when they are younger to be able to adapt to the change and gain study habits and management skills. In short, the value of starting school at a young age can help others become a better version of themselves. People do not take education for granted, they just do not see others suffering without one. The purpose of education is to encourage others to gain knowledge in order to help them with everyday tasks. School is intended to help us challenge ourselves to do things outside of our comfort zones. School also pushes everyone to do their best in anything they aspire to achieve, big or small.